Last week you began reading The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane. For this week's direct instruction, I'm going to review chapters 1 and 2. Throughout the video, there are questions related to each of the chapters. In order to answer the questions, I suggest that you pause the video, go to another screen, answer the question, and then come back to the video when you are ready. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. A little bit of background information on the Red Badge of Courage. Crane had no experience with war prior to writing this. He had never seen war, nor was he enlisted. He opted to write the Red Badge of Courage from the point of view of an enlisted soldier. Obviously, being that he himself was never a soldier, this provided or caused some issues for him. The novel is known by critics for its intense realism. It offers a first-hand account of war, even though it's fictional. The style of writing in this novel was very, very original for its time period, although it's something that we see fairly commonly today. One critic, Harold Frederick, had this to say about the novel. The Red Badge impels the feeling that the actual truth about a battle has never been guessed before. Question number 1. I would like you to respond to that quote by Harold Frederick. The quote is, again, "The Red Badge impels the feeling that the actual truth about a battle has never been guessed before." Even from the little that you have read so far, you can begin to recognize what it is about Crane's writing that makes Frederick's quote so true. What truth is Crane showing us? Again, I suggest that you pause the video at this point, respond to the question, and then come back to the video when you are ready. We're now going to discuss chapter number 1. It is important to realize that it opens in the present day. When I say present day, we are talking about Henry's present, not ours. It then flashes back to Henry's enlistment when he explains his enlistment and the encounter with his mother, and then goes back to the present. Once again, Henry's present. The character of Henry, he's very idealistic. He's eager to enlist. He wants to be part of something bigger than what he is now, because currently he's just a small town farm boy. He's also the sole man of the house. His father has died, so he is his mother's caretaker. Henry's mother provides the point of view of the women left behind. And by left behind, we're talking about the women whose husbands and sons went off to fight the war. She's dealing with the possibility of losing her son. His father, her husband, has already died. So this is of concern for her. She's able to do very little to support her son, especially physically. She gives him warm clothes and socks and some advice, but other than that, she doesn't have much to give him. She's also going to be required to take on the duties of running the farm by herself while he is gone. And this is not going to be an easy task for her as a woman with very little help. Another thing that you need to recognize in this chapter is that the soldiers are not immediately recognized as good men. In a lot of literature of this same time period, soldiers were considered to be good men simply because they were soldiers. However, Henry's mother warns him not to fall in with the types of soldiers who are reckless and more likely to drink and cause trouble than to be heroic. She wants him to be one of those heroic soldiers. His mother is also selfless to a degree. She tells Henry not to shirk his duty out of concern for her. He should always do what is right if there is something right to be done. and he should not worry that if he were to die, what effect would that have on her. So he is always to do what is right and honorable. Henry is sent off with great excitement by those in the town. He gains a lot of attention of a pretty young lady, some townspeople, and some veterans. That being said, we come to question number 2. Compare Henry's enlistment story to present-day potential military candidates. Do you think that much has changed from the Civil War time to our present-day wars in Iraq and Afghanistan when it comes to soldiers' reasons for enlistment, the reaction of their families, and the reactions of those in their towns? Again, I encourage you to pause the video, answer the question, and then come back to the video when you are ready. We are now going to move on to chapter number 2. Chapter number 2 takes place as the men in the army camp are waiting for a battle, and then follows them as they move to take the enemy by surprise. The central conflict in this chapter is internal. It's man versus himself. Henry is beginning to question himself. Will he be brave enough to fight when the time comes, or will he run? Henry compares himself to the others in his unit. They all seem to be extremely fearless about battle, and they're excited about the opportunity to prove their worth as soldiers. Henry, however, again, he isn't so sure about himself, so he's trying to see how he ranks up against the rest of them. Crane uses figurative language and symbolism to describe the approaching troops as rows of dragons and as serpents climbing from its cavern. These images imply the evil of the opposing troops. Both dragons and serpents are related to the symbol of the snake as evil coming from the Old Testament, the story of the snake in the Garden of Eden, the symbolism of the devil tempting Adam and Eve. So we see these slightly biblical symbolism of evil in this chapter. Also in this chapter, the reader is given a glimpse of the cruelty of the soldiers in the scene with the fat soldier at the end. They're stealing from the citizens of the area. There's a young girl who's forced to defend her property. It shows us a different point of view of the troops in general, and it also shows the required strength of the women who are left behind as their husbands go off to war, because she's responsible for keeping their stuff intact, and that is definitely a big responsibility. This brings us to our last question, question number 3. In this chapter, we're given a very different Henry than he was just a mere chapter before. Compare Henry from his pre-enlistment to the Henry of chapter 2. How has he changed? Why do you think that change has occurred? Do you think that this change occurs in present-day soldiers? Why or why not? Again, this is the last question. I encourage you to pause the video, answer this question, and then you'll be completed with the assignment. If you have any questions related to chapters 1 and 2, please feel free to send me an email and let me know. Next week we will review chapters 3 through 5, which are your assignments for this week. Please let me know if you need any help. I'm always here. Have a good week.